Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the You Gotta Try This podcast. It's me, Large. My co-host today is Captain Cons, and you may notice that we're in different climes this time. We're in Rocco Steakhouse, 57th Street off of Park Avenue. 57th Street off of Park Avenue. There's two locations in the city, one down on Madison Avenue between 27th and 28th. I've been there many times. It's my first time at the new location up in 57th off of Park. And we had a wonderful experience so far. We're going to do the rest of the podcast here. I had mentioned briefly that Cons is going to be my co-host for this whole thing. And on top of it, we just did a big video on what exactly dry aging a steak is. I mean, I was kind of familiar with the process beforehand. We were lucky enough to have Chef Dominic come in and walk us through from soup to nuts. And it was 100% fantastic and eye-opening. Listen, I'm so happy. Ian and I are so happy with the reception that we've gotten since we started this little project. And I just want to tell you, wherever you're finding this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, giving us a 5-star rating or subscribing, doing all that stuff that people want listeners and watchers to do, can you please do for us? And also, if you want to drop in a question to us, you can drop it in with a 5-star review. So instead of a 5-star review, still give us the 5 stars, drop in a question, and we'll try to get to at least a question every week. And we do have one this week. You'd sent it to me, right, E? Before I get to the questions, though, I do want to make sure I properly introduce Captain Cons. So Captain Cons is one of my closest friends here at Barstool. I think that's easy to say. We spend a lot of time together, both families and outside of that. And what's the new podcast that we got going on with you, Conzi?
So after I'll go out on a limb and say successful 8.5-year run of Zero Blog 30 with Chaps and Kate, they both decided it was time for them to walk away from the military and veteran space, which I applaud them. And they're both working on new endeavors that work well for their personalities, and they're both being very successful. But I felt like there were still stories to be told in the military and veteran and America at large, for that matter. So I started the Bold American podcast. And it's myself, and I have Rob, who is a fellow veteran, and I have Ryan, who is not a veteran, but she is the CEO and co-founder of the Mannion Foundation, the Travis Mannion Foundation. Her brother, Travis Mannion, was a individual, a service member who was killed in action. He was a Marine, and she started the foundation in his honor. So I have these two, and we're just getting started. Not even 10 episodes yet. So you think about 660 or something of Zero Blog 30. I mean, this is barely a thought in somebody's mind at less than 10 episodes. So
I think Zero Blog, I've always said, was the most noble thing that Barstool does, and that's saying something, right? Because we've also raised $60 million. Dave's raised $60 million for small businesses. Yeah. God knows we've saved countless dogs' lives. I don't think there's any more stray dogs in the United States since Dave got involved. But Zero Blog 30, I thought was very important because of all the veteran issues. I was lucky enough to go to a couple of the events that you guys were involved with, and they were wonderful. And I felt like I was doing something relatively noble. So I'm glad that you're going to keep that going. Yeah. And so if you're already following Zero Blog, obviously this is the easiest transition to make to Bold American. And Captain Cons kind of holding it down for the veteran community here at Barstool. So I applaud you for that. Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. So Cons is one of those guys who's a gentleman. This is Cons. He's a gentleman. So I had said we're going to go to a steakhouse today. He came dressed like this, which is kind of nice because a couple of weeks ago I was invited to Fort Charles with Gaz. Yeah. And I had a wonderful meal, but holy shit, did people come after Gaz with the whole wearing of a hat at the table type thing. And it's Gaz's reservation. He walked in, the maitre d' was like, Paul, nice to see you. The whole thing. So his prerogative with that, it's not a hill that I necessarily die on. It is a hill that you die on.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm showing maybe I'm showing my, no, I don't know the reason necessarily. Maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe it's how I was raised. Maybe it's, what I've been fortunate enough to do over the course of my life. I just feel like certain establishments, like Rocco's here, which is a great establishment, I would personally feel awkward walking in if I were wearing a t-shirt or a hat. And that level of decorum, maybe it's because of COVID and people becoming more comfortable and comfortable clothes becoming more popular. But we've kind of lost that aspect of being a gentleman where you put on a nice shirt with a collar and you carry yourself in a certain way when you're in establishments like this. So again, maybe I'm old man yelling at the cloud.
Yeah. No, you definitely are someone.
But I just feel more comfortable if I'm dressed appropriately.
I find it in airplanes more than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Even if I'm sitting in first class, I inevitably
Subtle flex.
sit next to somebody wearing a pair of pajama pants with juicy across the ass and a belly shirt and stuff like that. So I do see it. People just don't give a shit anymore.
They don't. And that's the thing I think too is like, shouldn't you want to feel good about how you look when you're in a place like this?
Right.
As opposed to a bunch of eyeballs on you essentially judging you because you look like a slob. Like, your t-shirt might cost $300. At the end of the day, it's a t-shirt.
Right.
I don't really care if it costs $300. You look like a slob. So.
And now, in Gaz's defense, he didn't. Like, Gaz was dressed up to everything, and I think he just doesn't like showing the baldness.
Yeah, but
which
it's no
obviously
surprise.
we don't. Yeah. So, but anyway, it was a good reservation to have.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, people came at him big time. The only time I've had more people come at me was this week because I did a review of Jovo's down in Brick, New Jersey.
Yes.
And we'll get into that because the Taylor ham pork roll thing is absolutely strong. I had mentioned at the front, 5-star review, leave a question and we'll get to it. We do have a couple of questions. Ian isn't mic'd up since we're on location, but I just sent them to my phone. And this one is from Todd. Large Ian, my wife is visiting New York City next month and sadly I can't go. What's something uniquely New York City that she can bring back for me that will still taste great after she goes to the airport and travels home on a 4-hour flight? We got to get these questions earlier. I got to give this some thought. What jumps? I mean, bagels leap to mind, right? Because you can't get a good New York bagel somewhere else. I know pizzas are very, very popular.
But how are you transporting pizza back on a plane?
I don't know.
That's not going to keep. I think bagels is a very good answer. I have family in Maryland, so whenever we go down for the holidays, we always bring bagels because they can't get the same level of bagel in Maryland that we have in Jersey. I think bagels is a good answer. I thought, is there a way you can bring home a dry-aged steak from Rocco's?
Yeah, we can get
uncooked? Like, hey, can I get a porterhouse uncooked?
Right, but you can't bring a dry-aged steak from New York City back to Nebraska and not have people waiting with pitchforks at the airport. I'm trying to think, too, like some of the bakeries around here that are elite, like a couple of Jewish bakeries in Brooklyn, if you bring back a babka, like people don't normally get that.
But what's going to keep?
Like,
that's the thing. There's a plethora of options.
Right.
What would keep, even if you're only taking a 2-hour plane ride?
I wonder, though, if they went to Katz's, since that's so uniquely New York and the first thing that people ask about. We still haven't gone to Katz to do a review just because obviously everyone has done it, and I've spilt more Katz than most people have eaten in their lives. But maybe go there and just bring back a container of their pastrami.
Yeah, that actually would work.
Half a loaf of rye bread.
Yeah, that would work.
Good rye bread.
That's a good answer.
Russ and Daughters does their black and whites. They're right next door. Russ and Daughters has mostly smoked fish, but I think they have the black and whites down there.
Does Katz have their own mustard?
No. I don't know what deli mustard they use at Katz, but that would be something too. Like coming back from LA, I went to that French dip place, Philippe's, and I brought back a jar of their hot mustard.
There
and it was elite.
Yeah.
So there's stuff. So, I mean, bagels is the easiest answer. I think getting some sort of sliced meats and throwing them in a Tupperware. I don't know. Do you have to keep it under 4 ounces anymore? Bringing that back and warming it up, and you might be able to, hey, you want to do a pastrami or corned beef on rye from Katz's?
Right. I don't even know if the ounce thing works with food. I think you could bring an unlimited amount of food.
I think you're right. Yeah. So a bagel, something maybe from one of these iconic New York City bakeries, if you're going to be eating it within a day.
Yeah.
Like
maybe some Rocco's original steak sauce.
We're pumping the Rocco's today.
Yeah.
But we did have a good experience here. So one of the things, thank you very much, Todd, for sending that in. So when we came here, we were met by the chef Dominic, and he took us downstairs into the aging room. They dry age steaks here. And for people who are unaware what dry aging steaks are, it's sort of like it sounds. You put the whole loin, these big loins, just in a temperature and humidity controlled refrigerator, and they just let them rot. They let them rot for about a month. And then once they get a proper amount of rot on the outside, they carve that away. And underneath is this concentrated I can't find another adjective, so I'm going to say steak that you have underneath. Like sometimes you're eating steak and you can be like, is this a pork chop? Is this something else? Perhaps because there's, more water content and stuff that's diluting that beef flavor. This thing here is finished in an oven in beef tallow, a mixture of beef tallow and clarified butter. There is nothing wrong with what they're doing here, and watching it happen from soup to nuts, from the refrigerator to the butcher table, to the broiler to the table. We just got done eating, by the way, was an experience that I love. And we're going to cut a full video on that. And that video is going to drop this weekend. So be on the lookout. And also like that, do whatever you want to do with the subscription. What did you think? What did you think of the experience, Cons?
I mean, unbelievable experience. The ambiance in here, the classic white tablecloths, old school New York City steakhouse feel. But then I think you talk about that dry age process, and that's really a differentiating factor because not every steakhouse is doing dry aged beef. And it clearly tastes different and better. So just really fascinating. Certainly, I was blown away. I guess I never really gave thought to it by how much worth of beef,
just the dollar amount.
The dollar amount of beef in that walk-in was a little staggering because I just don't think that's something that people tend to think about when they think about beef. They're like, well, how much does all this actually cost?
Right.
And what you have to keep on hand to serve your patrons. So it was, fascinating. I'm always, as I said, looking for ways for steakhouses to differentiate themselves. And I think they do a good job of that here.
And the amount that they lose. So if they spend $5,000 on a loin, they're going to lose 20 to 25% of weight from that loin just on the moisture leaving. And like I said, what they're going to have to trim out until they get that deep, beefy, steaky thing underneath. So it was extraordinary. The video is going to hit on Sunday. It's me and Cons and Rocco Steakhouse teaching guys all about dry aging. We do a history segment every week. Ian and I. So I'm going to do one today. And this one's going to be about the restaurant Arby's. You've been?
Yes.
When was the last time you were at an Arby's?
I think it was 2006.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why I have that memory, but I know exactly where it was. I was out in Pennsylvania at a buddy's house following graduation. And for some odd reason, we went to Arby's, and I don't know why that just popped into my head as my last memory of Arby's.
I used to go a little bit when I was in college. I haven't been in years.
Yeah.
And then when I see the name Arby's, do you know where the name comes from? Because they sell roast beef.
Yeah, Arby's. Yeah.
It's not that at all. So the people who founded this are the Raffle brothers.
Oh, okay.
So that's where they get the Arby's from. Got it. So they started it in 1964 in Ohio. And they're originally going to call it Big Tex, but there was already a restaurant in town called Big Tex, so they decided to go with Arby's. So it doesn't stand for roast beef, although that would be kind of hot.
It would work.
Right? Yeah. So Arby's, there was a rumor going around in the late 90s, early 2000s that they don't use real meat, that they use that pink slime that everyone thought that they made, Chicken McNuggets out of and all that kind of stuff. So Snopes went in and debunked it. They do use real meat. And what they do is they have just these giant roasts that they cryo-seal. They vacuum pack it. They send it off to the respective restaurants, which they then get roasted for about 4 hours. And the difference between Arby's and just about every other fast food restaurant out there is that they slice their own meats. So Arby's, on top of we have the meats, they also have these like electric slicers there. The reason I bring it up is because in 2004, a man in Ohio found an employee's slab of skin tucked between the buns of his food. A piece of flesh about 3/4 of an inch long. When the health investigators spoke with the manager, they saw a bandage on the guy's thumb. And it turns out he had sliced his thumb skin. You're really ruining this nice
meal that we just had.
While shredding lettuce, and he didn't think he had to throw the batch of lettuce away. The customer sued the chain for $50,000.
That's it?
In 2000, that's a light number. In 2012, a Michigan teen found an entire chunk of finger in Arby's sandwich. The piece appeared to be the back of a finger, including the pad extending beyond the first knuckle. And upon learning about the isolated unfortunate incident, the franchisee's restaurant team stopped food production, thoroughly cleaned and sanitized the restaurant. So here's the deal. Arby's is kind of a fascinating little place. It's called Arby's not because of roast beef. It's because of the Raffle brothers. They had some beef with Pharrell because remember when Pharrell wore that hat to the Grammys?
Yes.
They thought it was some sort of trademark infringement because the big Arby's
that feels like
thing.
a stretch. stretch.
They've served over 5 billion sandwiches, 5 billion with a B, since they started in 1964. So I got no problems with the place, but I will tell you, keep your head on a fucking swivel whenever you're going to go to a place where they have kids working electric slicers, because you may get a little bit more than roast beef inside of your outside of your sandwich.
Can I say something about Arby's?
Please.
And this is not going to help my argument that I'm not an elitist. I don't tend to eat fast food all that often.
Road trips.
Essentially, if I'm out of the state of New Jersey, is when I will indulge in fast food. And that's not because I'm knocking fast food. It's delicious.
Absolutely not.
But it's just, with all the options for food that we have in this area, the fact that you would opt for fast food first seems foreign to me.
I worked not too far from here. So we're, like I said, on 57th and Park. So I worked on 55th and 5th. And then also on 54th and Mad. And nothing would piss me off more than going to a great deli here in Midtown Manhattan, but seeing a line at the door at Subway or Popeyes or Potbelly.
Right.
I don't understand how that happens. Like,
I don't know either.
Everything about those places are worse than DNS Deli on 55th Street.
Right.
Between 5th and 6th. DNS Deli, I think, is the name of it.
All right, I'll make another sweeping generalization and probably annoy a good portion of your audience here. It's got to be people who are not from this area, and that's what they know, right? So they know, like, in my tiny town in Iowa, I ate Subway growing up, so that's what I know.
But I got to be honest, but why would you come to New York City
and not
to eat at Sparrows?
Because people...
Right?
Oh, right over here, my favorite slice of pizza in New York. I think people, when it comes to food, so much about food, as you know, is about comfort, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea that people will branch out of their comfort zone is, I think, a little bit of a challenge. Where if you're in an industry like you used to be in, where you're constantly, I don't want to say forced, because I don't think anyone forced you to eat, but if you're constantly being brought to different cuisines, different restaurants, by the sheer nature of that, you're going to try new things. I just don't think people in general are adventurous when they come to their eating.
One of the first things, I took my family to Miami last week because kids had spring break. And the first thing I did was scope out places to eat.
Yes.
Because you are going to eat regardless, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, so we went to Joe's just because I like stone crab. And it was okay. Yeah. I got to be honest. It wasn't as good as I remembered it, to be honest with you.
Right. There goes the Joe's Crab Shack sponsorship, but whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, stone crabs. Joe's Crab Shack, come on in.
Yeah.
We did Carbone just because I'm a basic Instagram bitch.
Yeah.
And then we did some place called Barton G because it was my daughter's birthday, so they do like, but just doing, and then we had a great sandwich at Puerto Sagua, great Cuban sandwich. And then a great breakfast. I did one of those, what the hell are they? Oh, the Eggs in Purgatory.
Sure.
I did that at Cafe Bastille. So we had a really good time on top of being down in South Beach and doing all this stuff. But I made sure that I did that. And sure, Carbone, I could go in New York. Mm-hmm. Joe's, I can go in D.C. I can go in Chicago. But at least it's not me coming down here and saying, all right, kids, we need something quick. Let's go to McDonald's.
Right.
Let's go to fucking Arby's.
I think you're just cheapening any travel that you do when you don't eat something that you can only get in whatever location.
And go hole in the wall.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't understand why people do it. By the way, the other part of that Arby's thing was when Pharrell Williams wore the hat that they said was a ripoff. He wound up putting it up for sale. Pharrell did at a charity auction. Arby's bought it for $44,000. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
right?
That is cool.
I'm not going to talk about Arby's anymore. I promise.
But no, you know my wife. So right now she's pregnant.
Yes.
So there's less you can do socially. So she created a list for her and mapped out her entire pregnancy, all these different restaurants around New Jersey that are very well known, and that's what she likes to do. Whenever we travel, she is scouring Instagram and different blogs to figure out, like, what is that hole in the wall? Like, we were in Florence one time, and luckily one of her girlfriends studied there. So she asked her for a food recommendation, and I looked. It wasn't on any website or anything. And we went there. I still think about that gnocchi that I had there.
I would like to do more of that with the food reviews that we do with Ian. I'd love to do more of that, but it's a necessary evil also to check the box with places. We just did we just did Gene and Jude's in Chicago, which I know everyone knows it's an institution, but there's a lot of people who go to Chicago who just want to have a legitimate Chicago dog and they don't know it. So I have to tell them about it.
No,
like, you know, it's one of those things. So,
but institutions are institutions for a reason.
Yeah. If I beat the bushes and find something that's really obscure, I'll make sure people know, hey, listen, you're going to a place that you're probably not going to find anyone else has done. Like even Margone in Times Square, and we did that with the original Cuban sandwich, dipping in the oxtail gravy. People went bananas for it because it's a hole in the wall that they pass by a million times on their way to
with all the noise
office.
in Times Square and everything is taking your attention. You would know it's there.
Before I forget, last week we had Chef Greeny on. Eric Greenspan, a belated happy birthday to Greeny. His birthday was last week. And that was the most fun I've had talking about food in a long time. Like talking with that guy, talking with the guy who's been in the industry, his kung fu is so fucking strong when it comes to talking about food that it's fascinates me. Even speaking with like Chef Dominic, like just knowing more than, and again, it's not my business, so I don't know it. I can listen to people talk about food who know what they're doing for goddamn hours, and I'm going to start to get there. But most importantly, Greeny did send me his cheese.
Yeah.
So he has a brand new American cheese label, and I'm telling you guys, it's American cheese. Nobody pays up for American cheese. I think you got to start. This new school stuff, I made quesadillas for my kids this morning, my wife and my kids before they went off to school, and it's the best American cheese I ever had. There's no reason for me to say that. Greeny's not here. I don't have to kiss his ass or anything like that. So as we're starting to like pay $8 for a bottle of water, start paying up for like organic cilantro, start paying up for all this other stuff that becomes artisanal.
Yes.
You know, everyone's buying $40 candles. If you're going to want to go and up your game in anything that's on your plate, think about doing it with American cheese. Think about doing it with this new school stuff because it's fucking delicious. So thank you, Greeny, for coming on. He had a tough shoes to fill because we had Lisa Ann the day before. And then in comes like Greeny.
That's tough to follow, Lisa.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. But Greeny also has an attractiveness to him that I can't really put my head up.
Have you had her wine, by the way?
I have. Yes, I have. I had at her birthday party. She brought a bunch of cases to a birthday. But that's another little flex, huh? Lisa Ann's birthday party every year?
Yeah, you know. You're a man of many circles.
What I'm going to say is that Khan's wife is pregnant with their second kid. So I'm bringing this up just because you're here. Next time you guys go to a grocery store, it's food related, and you go down the cereal aisle. Have you heard this?
I'm waiting to hear it.
Every cartoon mascot in a cereal aisle is looking down because they all want to make eye contact with your kids. So next time you go to any kind of cereal aisle, and I know you're not going to be able to, they're all looking down. So when you walk down a cereal aisle, you see, you know.
That's not creepy in any way.
No. So look, like, and they're always saying, no, they're looking at the bowl. They're looking directly at your fucking kids.
Yeah.
As they're walking through trying to get them. Right?
That's some old school Mad Men marketing type.
I kind of like that, though,
whiz
right?
bang type tactic. Yeah, that is cool.
I got one more story before we move on to what I want to talk to you about. Chewy. Do you know Chewy, the company?
Yes. Yeah. The granola bars.
No. So Chewy is a brand of granola bars, but there's a company called Chewy, and I think it's CHWY on the big board.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, I know that one as well.
They deliver dog food.
Yes.
Okay. So you're about to have a baby. One of the things that made sense for us is to have diapers delivered, right?
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have to go for diapers. They're a bulky thing. So there's a bunch of, you know, services that'll send you diapers and milk just so the wife and the husband don't have to go out for it. Chewy does the same thing with dog food. If you're going to get that same 50-pound bag of kibble every month, instead of going out for it, they just deliver it to your door.
Sure.
I haven't used it. I've never used the product, and I've always had dogs, but I'm always one that I go to a pet store. I'm like, which one do we do? The lamb versus whatever? This isn't an ad for Chewy. I don't care if you ever buy a dog. I don't care if you ever use them. But I just found this out. You've had dogs. Everyone here has had dogs. I have 2 dogs now. I'm waiting for them both to die. It'll be the happiest day of my life. But typically when your dog dies, it's an awful thing.
Yes.
Right? It's like losing a family member.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have a couple of dogs I like better than a couple of my uncles. So when your dog dies and all the stuff goes on with you explaining it to the kids and all that, it's kind of a tough hump to get over. And 9 times out of 10, you forget to cancel the Chewy delivery.
Right, yes.
So maybe a couple of weeks after you just put Fido in the ground, 50 pounds of kibble shows up at your fucking door. Nobody wants that.
Sure.
So what Chewy does is if that happens, you call them and say, hey, I'm no longer going to need this. Fido dies. They refund you for the 50 pounds of kibble.
And they come get it?
I don't know if they come get it, but then the following month you get one last delivery and they send you flowers in your dog's name.
Oh, that's
kind of
very
fucking
nice.
cool. Like I'm telling you, I don't give a shit if you get a dog. But to me, that's classy.
I just think in a world where there's just so many brands doing the same thing, something as simple as that either costs the same amount or less, multiply that by 10. And then, you'll tell, like, hey, you got to use this company. Like, I don't think you can put a price on gestures like that.
And the thing is, this is a small podcast. They did over $11 billion in revenue in 23. They're in the S&P 400. Okay. This isn't going to move the needle based in Plantation, Florida. I think that's one of the better. I think more people should know about that. Mm-hmm. If I was the people who are at Chewy, I'd make sure everybody knows. They take care of you.
That's enough for me. I don't have a dog currently. That's enough for me to buy from them.
Because you're going to have 2 kids under the age of 3.
Yes.
If you were to throw a dog into that fucking mix, it's the stupidest thing in the world.
I mean, I wouldn't because, it would be stupid.
Right. But it seems like to me, that's what people exactly do.
Yes. Because people don't think through things.
Yeah. So let me talk about this thing that I did this weekend. We were at Jovo's.
Oh, right.
In Brick, New Jersey.
Good spot.
And you can check socials. They do something called the Fat Jovo. And the Fat Jovo is just on a sturdy Kaiser roll. It's 10 pieces of Taylor ham, 4 eggs, 5 or 6 slices of American cheese on a roll. Mm-hmm. And it's done perfectly. The people behind the counter are wonderful. There was a nice older lady. I say older because she was older than me. And they're just wonderful people. It's the type of place that you would want to go to every Saturday.
Yes.
With your kid to get a coffee and an egg sandwich. We put this video up. And people came at us so hard, like on my DMs, not on the comments too. If we have 250 comments, 248 of them it's pork roll, not Taylor ham.
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
Plainfield, New Jersey, which is in Union County. It's about 25 miles outside of the city, a suburb of New York City.
Is that central?
Yes.
That's central.
Jersey, yeah.
But you spend a lot of time where do you go for the beach?
Oh, down there, like North Jersey Shore. So like my parents live in Manasquan now.
Squan.
But yeah, we grew up going to that part of the shore.
And now, would you consider that part of the shore central, or is that South Jersey?
The way I classify it is there's 3 shores. There's the North Jersey Shore, which is basically everything north of LBI.
So Point Pleasant, all that kind of shit.
Point Pleasant, Spring Lake, Belmar, Asbury, all the way up to Sandy Hook. That would be the North Jersey Shore in my head. Then you have LBI, which is just its own thing. And then everything below that, Avalon, Stone Harbor, Sea Isle, that's the South Jersey Shore.
Cape May, right? All the way down to the point.
Yes.
But New Jersey itself, how do you split it up? Is it
North, Central, and South.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are people now who say there isn't a Central New Jersey.
Yeah, that's
it's either
just
North or
preposterous.
South. So they just pretend. And then there are people who say there's North, Central, South, and the shore.
Okay.
So they consider that.
I could see making the shore its own thing.
Brick is in Ocean County.
Yeah.
But it's on the whatever side of Monmouth County or something like that.
Yeah, north side of Monmouth County.
And I don't know why people are so into the fact that some people call it Taylor ham and some people call it pork roll. What do you call it?
I call it Taylor ham.
Okay. Always.
Yes, always. And for those who are unaware, so it comes in a package that says Taylor ham.
Yeah.
And
I think it says Taylor pork roll on the package.
Yeah.
It's like one of those Mandela effects, but it doesn't matter.
It's one of those things where I think, like, if I said, hey, give me a Kleenex, you might give me a tissue.
Yes.
It's one of those things where Taylor ham became the prevailing brand, so it just became Taylor ham. And it's very much a regional thing.
I've never had, and I love Taylor ham.
Yeah.
I've never had pork roll that wasn't Taylor ham.
Right.
I don't know the other brands, so I just never refer to them. I just talk about Taylor ham because that's all. I buy the loaves, right? In the, the burlap or whatever the hell it is, right?
Exactly
you know what I mean?
about,
so you're cutting through it. And I've loved it for my whole life, so I've always called it Taylor ham.
And sorry, quickly to cut you off. What's so crazy, because you're from Brooklyn, you can't really get it on this side of the river.
Right.
Which is so weird because it's right there. But for whatever reason, something that's made in Trenton can't make its way to Manhattan. But I digress.
Even to slow it down, like Eddie from Chicago has never had it. because you can't get in Chicago.
I don't know why it hasn't matriculated to other parts of the country, but it's really just condensed to Jersey.
Right. And people who haven't had it call it, oh, it's just glorified spam. It's all that
It's
stuff.
Canadian bacon.
Yeah, it's a forced sausage for indeed. But the fact that people die on that hill, I have never seen anyone die on that type of hill. A product being referred to as its brand name. Give me a Coke.
Yeah.
We only have Pepsi. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, just give me whatever the cola is. Like I've had that happen to me a bunch of times.
Sure.
Throw me that Frisbee. I've never had 250 people say it's a flying disc. You want to jump in the jacuzzi? It's a hot tub. Like, it's just something that, can I have the Scotch tape? No, it's just, tape.
Yeah.
Can I have a Q-tip? A jar of Vaseline. It's petroleum jelly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, what the nuance is with that causes people to want to die on that fucking hill. But I got to be honest, I love it.
Yeah.
And I knew when I said Taylor ham that it was going to invoke something. I didn't know it was going to invoke death threats.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's something, it kind of speaks to Jersey in general.
Yeah.
How, in terms of a population of a state, it's a passionate state. I think it's one of those states, Texas comes to mind, California comes to mind. People where they're proud to be from that state where I think, and that state has an identity. Mm-hmm. I think Jersey is one of those states. And I think people in Jersey, by and large, are just passionate people. Because, to your point, if I think back to all the ridiculous things that people argue about on the internet,
right.
I don't know that anything's as crazy as pork roll.
I don't think so. I think there's a small nuance to if I went into a sandwich shop and you said, "Can I get a hoagie?"
versus a hero or a sub,
a sub or a grinder or something. Like maybe that will invoke something.
Yeah, right.
But it's like there is.
But even that, people accept like, oh, I call it this because this is where I'm from. There's just something about this meat. I don't know. I can't really fully explain it.
Yeah. Can you Google it? No, it's a search engine. Don't call it Google. Like every one of them, I have it. I put it in the crock pot. You put it in the slow cook. Like crock pot's a brand.
Sure.
Google's a brand. Ping pong is a brand. Of,
table tennis. Yeah.
Like the whole deal. So I don't know what it is. So I'm not going to apologize for it, and I'm going to continue to call it. I don't even know if I'm going to continue to call it Taylor ham. I think the next time I do one, I'm going to call it pork roll to see if I can get the same amount of people
going
angry about fucking Taylor ham.
One thing I will say about that deli too, I think breakfast sandwiches in general don't necessarily always photograph well for whatever reason. Maybe it's because, the typical things that go on a breakfast sandwich are thinner.
Yeah.
And I think for a sandwich to present well and to photograph well, it needs to seem more full. They get that done at Jovo's.
Oh, man.
It photographs well.
It looked beautiful as I pulled it apart.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Also, people are like, oh, I don't like the fact that you had a Yoo-hoo with it.
Yoo-hoo to me seems like it wouldn't be my choice, but it seems like a breakfast drink, if that makes sense.
Right. I only think people had the bravery to come after Yoo-hoo because they saw so many hundreds of people come after me for the pork roll Taylor ham thing. Again, it's engagement. Do not stop fucking with me. Do not, even if you go to it now, say, just listen to the podcast, it's pork roll, fatty. Do whatever you want.
But Yoo-hoo or even chocolate milk, something about that being a breakfast drink.
Yeah, I just remember those small glass bottles with the old school caps that you could flip. And I used to have one before high school every day. Like Yoo-hoo, I know it's chocolate flavored water, but it's, I don't know, an ice cold Yoo-hoo, for the lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. But I just think, kind of going back to the pork roll Taylor ham, it's what people grew up with.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason. Because it's almost like, and again, I recognize what I'm about to say is ridiculous. It's almost like if I say I'm having a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese and someone says it's pork roll, you're insulting my family. Because in my house, we called it Taylor ham. So what are you telling me? My parents are idiots?
Right. That's exactly what they're saying.
And that's the level that we get to in Jersey about the most minute, stupid things. Like, who cares what you call it? I care. Because it's Taylor ham.
Yeah.
But if you're from somewhere else in the country, I don't get why they call it that.
But I looked at a map. Like New Jersey has a northern part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a fucking flat line, but people get nuts about Central Jersey.
Yes.
New Jersey's a very weird place.
It is.
And it's filled with very weird people.
It's unique.
What is your relationship with food? eat to live, live to eat? What's like, because you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
People who don't know, Cons was quarterback at West Point, right? Played for 4 years. His career stats are
I had a 14-yard rushing average. Look it up. That's true.
Is it 14 yards?
14-yard rushing
2 attempts?
average. 1 attempt.
Understood. But Cons... I'm
in a video game.
Yeah, and then you were in a video game and a movie.
Yeah, in a movie, yeah.
Yeah, The Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
And Cons is then served. So served for you. What was the service thing with you? Give us the background for it.
I was an artillery officer. So I was a platoon leader. Then I was a fire support officer. And then, actually, I started out as a grad assistant football coach at West Point for a year. Then I went to artillery school, was an artillery officer, was a platoon leader. Went to Iraq in 2008, right during the surge, and right after the surge started in like 2007. So it was like the tail end of that. And then I came back and I sat in an office, the plans office, due to getting promoted. And then I left, but I would say I was an artillery officer.
So how long were you in the service?
4 years West Point, 5.5 active, 3 inactive ready reserve.
Okay, cool. So now coming from the military, coming out of high school, going to West Point, and then going, right into the military, how terrible is the food? I'm sure it's something that you guys can talk about intimately when you're around other vets, how terrible the shit on the shingle is and all that kind of stuff. How terrible is the food in the military right now? I will tell you that when my son used to go to, I don't know why I'm pushing you. He used to go to sports camps in West Point because it's only about an hour away from the house. The Thayer Hotel.
The mess hall, the Thayer Hotel, yes.
Is one of the finest brunches that you can have. And the Zulu Lounge, I think it's called.
Yeah, overlooks the river.
Great fucking things. You can go and get like a George Patton or something like that, a General Patton, stuff like that. So it's a great place to visit. Yeah. But I don't know what the quality of the food is for the cadets, and I certainly don't know what the quality is.
Listen, when you're cooking for 4,400, 4,000 people at once, certainly, it's like going to a wedding. Like, have you been to a wedding where you're like, oh my God, that piece of filet was unbelievable? No, because you're cooking at large. Right. Now, I think cadets and former students, they grow to love certain meals. Like, I still think about the spicy chicken sandwich that we had in the mess hall, and that was unbelievable. But I'm talking about, we had eggs that were made from powder in the morning for breakfast. So that's the level of food you're getting in the mess hall. It's an unbelievable, fascinating operation that they make food for 4,000 people, and we come in and we're in and out in 20 minutes. It's an impressive operation.
It's very efficient, yeah.
But I would say in terms of my relationship with food, like, growing up, myself, my sisters, we were very active. So it was very much like a meat and potatoes house. There was a meat, there was a vegetable, and it was, what can my mom cook quickly, just because she was running around getting us to all our practices and things of that nature. So, think instant mashed potatoes and chicken cutlets.
Right.
By no means, gourmet meal. But I love my mom's cooking because she would cook on the holidays too. And certainly the potatoes weren't instant at that point. But my wife gives me a hard time. She says I'm a trashy eater. And what I like to say is that my spectrum is wider than the average person, because I can remember what it tastes to eat an MRE, meal ready to eat in the Army, or I can remember what it was like to have the same 4 meals rotated for dinner on a random outpost in Iraq.
Right.
So I have that experience where it's like, this is all you have, so you grow to enjoy it and love it. And kind of like the Taylor ham pork roll debate, it's like I get defensive, like, don't come at me because I had to eat that food. Like, it was good. The chefs were doing a great job, and I enjoyed that. But then, with my wife she's very much a foodie. So,
I know.
We've dined at some incredible restaurants, Michelin starred restaurants.
Oh, you just did that on Wakasi that I sent you too, right? Sushi by Sea.
Oh my God.
They did a great job, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about getting a group together, because that was just an unbelievable
That's
experience.
another plug. Sushi by Sea, not
That
Sushi
chef.
by the Sea.
No.
Sushi by Sea. They do pop-ups in and around New Jersey. I think the one I went to was Ridgefield Park.
Yes, that's
They do
where I
like
went.
16 courses.
17.
17 courses, and one of them is a steak course where they blowtorch the steak on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
That
they do a
place is
fantastic
unbelievable.
job. And they do like a little homemade sake type thing too. Got to get that on the side. Good stuff. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, so my relationship with food is that, I can appreciate mess hall food. I can appreciate an MRE for what it is. But then, I'd like to think my palate is expanded to nicer foods too, but my wife gives me the hard time and says I'm trash because
What's the trashiest thing you eat? Not consistently, but like what? Every now and again, if I open a can of canned corned beef, my wife's like, "How could you eat that dog food?" I'm like, I don't know. I just enjoyed it since I was a kid.
I mean, like, I think back to my days when I was single in the Army. It's like a can of black beans, like that was fine.
Okay.
So like
okay.
That and some grilled chicken, like that was fine.
But I mean, that's a healthy meal. It's a lot of protein.
So, I by no means am I a snob when it comes to food, I think, but I can appreciate a nice meal.
Where are you a snob? Cigars?
Probably wine and cigars.
Right.
Yeah, I've just, at this point, you learn what you like and you try to only enjoy those things. Like, I'm not going to smoke a $2 bodega cigar anymore because I've moved past that part in my life. I would say, wine and cigars. And I don't even know if it's snob so much as like, I've learned, like somebody was just talking to me recently about that trip we took to Sonoma.
Yes.
And this is another shameless plug.
So Constance and I, actually, we've done a lot together. So I've been over his house with his whole family. My whole family's been there. His whole family came over. It was after my 50th birthday.
Yes.
I had cooked like I lost a loved one, and I'm born on Christmas Day. I think you came by on the 26th.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just going to be sitting around doing nothing. I have a ton of leftovers. You came by with mom and dad, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And your wife and Mag's new baby at the time. And we had a great time, like the day after Christmas, day after my 50th birthday. I've been to your house multiple times. You've been to my place down the shore.
Yes.
Like dance parties with my daughter and stuff like that. So he's actually invited my oldest son goes to University of Alabama, right, which is a football school, or at least it used to be. And his favorite tailgate before he went to Alabama was the ones that you invited us to in West Point. Finnegan still thinks that it's better than anything that he's ever seen in Alabama or Notre Dame.
He's a good kid.
Like I went to Notre Dame, my son goes to Alabama, and my family thinks the best tailgating in the world is an hour away at West Point.
Hidden gem up there.
Yeah, so we do have quite the fucking history.
Yeah.
And when I showed up to your goddamn tailgate,
oh God, those sandwiches.
Yeah, yes. I parboiled Italian sausages in red wine.
Yeah.
So they look like the purple, essentially. Yeah. I grilled them up while we were there, and I did these grilled.
It's like arugula.
Yeah, I did arugula, shaved Parmesan, and hot pepper relish or something. Oh,
yeah, it was
they
good.
were a huge hit.
It was good.
So we have a lot of history for people who don't know. We just haven't met at work. Yeah.
But I was going to say, now, because we went to that vineyard, shameless plug.
Yes.
Sonoma, Napa. If they want to send us some cases, I'm open to it. But Farniente, the tasting we had there
in the cellar.
Yes, and now it's like I see that on a menu, I'm getting that, and sometimes, regardless of the price, because it is a nicer wine, and people might look at you crooked if you order something like that. But I'm like, I don't know, I had it now, and I really like it.
Dornum.
Yeah,
we went to that one, which was like an art installation / vineyard, and then we got yelled at because we kept walking into fountains.
Right,
that was our drunken thing. With Farniente, we went to like 2 others, but Sonoma was the worst race I had ever been to. It was just a very boring race. Daniel Suarez won that year. We barely watched the race. We were smoking paint roller cigars, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Rollers, on the thing, but it was the best experience I've had.
It was unbelievable.
If you're going to go to a NASCAR race,
go to Sonoma.
Go to fucking Sonoma.
Yeah.
I mean, the racing is not that great. It's a road course. And it's okay, but if you're walking to the box that we're at, bring a fucking Aqualung. I mean, I had to stop a couple of times on the way up there. But we went up there, we smoked a bunch of cigars, we drank a bunch of wine, and we ate some great fucking food.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I have you on, is because we've swallowed a lot of the same stuff together. Can you cut that? I think that's one of the reasons I'm having on. No, we've been to like so many great meals together.
Yes.
Yeah. If you had unlimited funds right now and you were like, Large, I want to take you to dinner, where would you take me?
Wow. And it's not Rocco's.
Yes, outside of Rocco's. I really appreciate you doing that though. But is there something that you'd want me to try? Is there like something from your youth? And again, I don't give people these questions before I have them on. So is there something that you've had that that I haven't, because it's something maybe from your youth, or maybe it's something that your family makes that you think that I should try?
Yeah. If I could work it out, and I'm pretty confident that I could, and maybe this is just because we were just talking about it. If I could get you in for a meal up at the mess hall at West Point, when all those cadets are sitting down.
I would love to do that.
Because you can't walk off the street and go
Great
there.
fucking answer. I would
Right?
love
You
to
can't
do
walk off the street and do that. Now, is that going to be the best meal you've ever had?
God, no.
No, but I think so much about. It was this past weekend. I had my in-laws over at the house, and my father-in-law asked me, what is the best meal you've ever had? And I think some of the best meals I've ever had, it wasn't even necessarily the food. It was the company.
Yeah.
It was the banter. And I think food, largely for me at least, I don't have a memory for food. I have a memory for those experiences.
Yeah.
So that's where I land on that. But so I think I would love to bring you there just because it would be a unique experience. It's an ornate monster mess hall. And then just, you're a lover of history, evident by Twisted History. Download, subscribe.
Appreciate it.
When you think about some of the people who have eaten in that mess hall.
That's what's cool. Like sometimes I talk about Keen's, about that side room where Teddy Roosevelt used to, like that. I don't know. That gets me hard.
Yeah.
So I think going to West Point, could I do it? Will they let a civilian in there to do it?
I don't want to get ahead of my skis here.
You can pull some strings?
Yes.
Okay.
I know the right people that could get us in for a meal.
I would do that in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
Listen, I got Mikey Grinnell in there for lunch.
Oh, did
when
you?
he filmed his video there. I'm pretty confident I could get you in for a meal there.
What's the best food that you've never had? Like I asked that question because a lot of people have been asked the question, what's the best movie you've never seen?
Yeah.
I'll ask you that first. What's the best movie you've never seen? Is there one out there that you think is
God, I'm like a cinephile, so I've seen most of them.
Seen Citizen Kane?
No, there you
Seen
go.
Gone with the Wind?
Yes.
Okay. I've never seen Citizen Kane. I've never seen Fight Club.
Oh, yeah, Fight Club's on streaming right now. You should be able to find that. You know what's actually, I know it's a all-time sports movie. I've never seen it, The Natural. With Robert Redford.
Yeah. Good movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen Goonies.
Wow.
So and the thing is, they're readily available to me. I could break the streak tomorrow, or on the way home from work.
I
just
almost kind of
not doing
enjoy
it now.
movies like that though, where you get older and you still haven't seen them, because then it's still there for you to go experience for the first time. I hate to admit this. It wasn't until a couple of years ago, a year ago, I saw Die Hard for the first time, and then you see it because
that was the best movie you've never seen up till a year.
Yes, because you see all the GIFs, the memes, and I know what it's about, but then you watch it and you think to yourself, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
So, and everybody has those movies. It's not like, you're a bad person just for whatever reason you haven't seen it. But so maybe I'd say The Natural. But in terms of
food, so what's the best food you've never tried? I always tell people mine. I've never had a blueberry.
I don't know how that's possible.
At this point, I just won't try one. Like
out of principle?
Yeah, just so I can continue to say this. So I can continue to have an easy answer. And because I know there's going to be a point, so in case my kids are watching, I want to be as big of a burden on as many people as possible for as long as possible. Do not fucking put me down. So when I go into the home, I think they're going to put on a bunch of old movies that I'll be forced to watch, and I'll finally see Citizen Kane, and somebody's going to feed me blueberries. So until then, I'm not going to do either of those two.
Yeah.
So what's the best food you've never had?
I've never had omakase in Japan.
Oh, okay.
I think I'd like to go to the Far East and experience that. I've never been to the Far East.
That surprises me.
Yeah, it just never came up. But again, this is me benefiting from having a wife who likes to explore different foods. Since meeting her and being with her, I've experienced a lot of things that I hadn't growing up. And I've traveled places that I never went to before because of her.
Right.
So if I can give, any young person advice, find a partner or a spouse that's going to help you experience things you've never done before in your life.
Anal.
That could be one thing you do for the first time.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. That's probably the best thing I've never tried. Right? Just because I heard it's tough to walk the next day.
Yeah. You don't want to be that guy.
So now having one kid and another kid on the way, you're 3 years out from one of them, maybe 4 years out, from one of them saying, all I want is buttered noodles and chicken fingers. How are you going to deal with that? I've been so I have 3 kids. They're older.
Yeah.
Older. My youngest daughter is 15. So I'm 15, 18, and 21 in a couple of weeks. Wow, that's old. and all of my kids would try everything at least once.
Sure.
And so you can imagine when I cook at home, and they all try, and some of them eat stuff that normally kids wouldn't eat. And there are some things where I cross the line and then they'll never try them again. But everyone has to try everything at least twice in my house, right? And I've always been extremely lucky with that. But I also have friends who have had to give their kids protein shakes because all they have are hot dogs and buttered noodles.
Yeah.
They go to a restaurant and they could take their kids to a restaurant where they're dressed to the nines for whatever, and all the kids want is chicken fingers. What do you think you would do if you have a son of a bitch who all of a sudden wants to just have buttered noodles?
That doesn't bother me as much.
Really?
No, because eventually I think they all come around. I didn't have sushi till I graduated college. Again, it was just never put in front of me. I didn't have friends who ate sushi. You know, I didn't go to somebody's house and they had sushi. We didn't go to sushi growing up. You know, we went to standard American fare type restaurants.
Same with me. I didn't have it until college.
Right. And I think it's almost, from my experience, I appreciated all these things more because I experienced them as an adult rather than and then forcing them, where my kids will have an experience probably similar to your house. That's what Alex, if that's what she's cooking and we put in front of you,
that's it.
Eat it. Like what I won't stand for is if Alex makes an unbelievable meal, takes her time. And she loves to cook, so it's not like a burden for her to cook. She enjoys it. But if we put her meal in front of our children, they're like, I don't want this. I want a bowl of cereal. Like, well, you can have that, or you can go to bed hungry. Yeah. Those are your options.
I think hunger makes kids try more.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's a midnight. I'm grumbling. Let me have that oyster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's now. I don't think we're going to put super obscure things in front of them on a regular basis, because especially now, like, she likes what she likes. She's got to eat. Let's make that.
But I'm saying there are kids who would go to a steakhouse and they'd be like, "Oof, I won't." You know what I mean? Like I'm not expecting you to come right out of the gate and say, "Hey, listen, you have to try this eyeball." You know, it's the only way to eat a goat. You know, you got to do eyeball for. I wouldn't expect that, but I know people who just have, and I don't know how I would handle it. I think it's one of the better things about my kids, and I'm always looking for good things about them. I can't find them. But it's one of the things is that they're kind of DTF when it comes to trying different foods. It's made my job a lot easier.
Right.
And part of it is, what else do you have, Dad? And I'm like, there's nothing else tonight.
Right. And the other thing is, too, like, Alex doesn't like to go to the same restaurants. It's always about, like, we have some of our staples that we go to, frequently. But other than that, she wants to branch out to other places. So I think just by the sheer nature of that, they're going to be forced into environments where find something on the menu that you like.
All right, Mr. Manners, you can't wear T-shirts and hats at good restaurants.
Sure.
How do you feel about bringing babies to restaurants? Oof. I could tell you, I don't like it.
No.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Number one, anybody who has children will tell you, a child that is taking your attention away from the meal completely ruins the meal. You could put the best meal in front. This meal right now, if Maggie was bouncing off these cushions,
Maggie's his wife.
Maggie, yeah. If she were bouncing off these cushions, ruins the meal.
Yeah.
Right. Now there's a point where we brought her out. I don't know, 8 or 10 days after she was born, because she just lays there. She doesn't make a sound. Mm-hmm. I think you have to strike a balance, and I'm not there yet because she's not even 2. She'll be 2 in June. You got to know your kid. And if your kid is not well behaved, not only are you ruining that meal for yourself, you're ruining that meal for everybody else in the restaurant. And I think that's inconsiderate.
If you're in Chili's, that's cool.
It's different.
That's okay.
No, exactly.
If you go to a place that provides you with crayons, then I think that you're good. So go to the Macaroni Grill or all those places.
Like, we have a diner in town we love.
Diner is perfect.
Maggie's friends with the hostess, the old woman who's the hostess.
There's nothing better. Yeah.
So, like environments like that, yes, bring a kid. Environments like this, I'm not bringing my children till they're probably 15, 16.
Especially since there's definitely somebody at one of the corresponding tables that was able to find a sitter.
Right.
That was able to get away from their kids.
Right.
And they just want to have an evening where they could overpay for food, if you want to say that, something fancy, just to be just with adults.
Yes.
And it's a right. I feel the same way about movies. I had gone to a movie in San Antonio. The longest month of my life was the 4 days I was stuck in fucking San Antonio. But I went to a movie in a dilapidated fucking strip mall
Yeah.
at the end of that stupid Riverwalk.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, every other store was closed down. And I went and I saw a terrible movie called Morbius.
Okay.
And I went in, I got my popcorn, and this is San Antonio. And I said, and I didn't even get out the butter and salt thing. And she was like, oh, butter and salt and jalapenos are right around the corner.
Jalapenos on your popcorn, okay.
And so I put pickled jalapenos on my popcorn. I said,
Okay.
oh, yeah, can you only fill it up halfway? I did that shake thing with
Yeah.
and it was fantastic. It was wonderful, life-changing. I sit down, a big thing of popcorn, a Coke, and I snuck in a sandwich. And I sit down, and all of a sudden, San Antonio has a huge Mexican-American population. 4 Mexican ladies came in with strollers, and they parked their strollers at the emergency exit 3 rows away from me, and they sat on the other side of the theater. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to be awful.
Yeah.
These fucking kids didn't say a word.
Wow.
So I will tell you right now, don't bring your kids to theaters, but also Mexican kids at theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know if
What
it's
about,
the culture, but whatever the fuck you're doing. Bravo?
Yeah.
Bravo's a good one?
Yeah, sure.
Bravissimo.
What about traveling?
That's tough too, right? Because you have to see grandma for Christmas maybe. So I mean, there are ways to do it where you can be a little bit more just aware of the people around you. Like there's some people who hand out little goodie bags and shit like that.
Yeah.
But in general, I have a sweet spot now. Like my problems with my kids, 15 to 21, are totally different.
Right.
And I'm
right.
like, you shouldn't envy me because the baby stuff is easy compared to this
we were talking
stuff.
about that earlier, yeah.
So now I have the right now to fucking hate babies anywhere.
Sure.
Like I find them to be disgusting.
Yeah.
That being said, you bring them over to my house, my daughter plays with them, Manny and all that stuff. It's a great thing. But whenever I'm out in the wild, I fucking hate babies. So yeah, I mean, I realize that they have to be on planes. Drug the shit out of them. Drug the dogs. Like anything you want to bring on a plane, just drug. Yeah. So I'm a big proponent. I'm not necessarily a big proponent of hitting your kid, but I'm a big proponent of drugging the shit out of them.
Yeah. Let me go one further. At what age can you bring your kid to a vacation that's potentially a little bit more expensive, maybe a little bit more memorable, as opposed to like just, popping down to Florida?
I will tell you that if I see you with your daughter and your son who will be the younger of the two, and your son is under 2 years old and you take him to Disney, you're a fucking moron. I realize that Disney's for kids, but kids going around Disney with a stroller, it's all for their parents.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no way that kid's going to remember it. There's no way the kid's even going to cherish the fucking pictures.
Right.
So I didn't take my kids to Disney until they were after probably 13, like something like that, which is a little bit late. But so I got away with it.
Yeah.
So 10 to 6. So 13, so then it was 13, 10, and 7. So 7, 10, and 13 is when I took it. And they all had a pretty good time. The oldest one was a little bit too old for it, but it's just wasted upon them. So that's why places like Hershey exist.
Yeah, we went there this past winter and it was awesome.
It's the Hershey Hotel.
The Hershey Lodge, yeah.
Yeah, so the lodge is a little bit more animal, but that's good, right? If you're going there with like your hockey team and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Hershey Hotel, I think, is a fine hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's right across the street from a great, amusement park or whatever the hell you want to call it. So my kids never went to fucking Disney. They went to Hershey every year for probably 10 years. And you can go even down from that to like a Sesame Place or one of those derelict places, like, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of shit.
Those,
So I would, listen, when my boys were younger, I used to walk them around IKEA and tell them they were in Disneyland. And so then we'd get an ice cream cone and a thing of Swedish meatballs and I'd let them jump on the beds for an hour.
Yeah.
And so when they were talking to their friends like, I'm going to Disney for the first time. They'd be like, oh, we go every weekend. You know what I mean? And they didn't know. I almost paid my brother to rent the outfit just to walk through as the mouse one time just to confirm the whole thing. So that's another tip for new parents, right? Kids don't fucking know.
Right, that's my big thing is like, if they're not going to remember it, I also say like, if they're not going to, I don't know many kids who would even appreciate a trip to Europe. Like, so I say she's got to know how to at least do calculus before I'll even consider bringing her to Europe.
Yeah, I think Europe is different too. Like, since my family is European, like my dad's side, my mom and dad's side, like, so we have places to go in Ireland to show off the kids.
Yeah.
That's it. But there's no way I'd be taking a kid to fucking Paris.
No.
Walking around the Louvre with a stroller
No.
is an absolute waste of money.
No,
I mean,
no.
if you have the means, then go ahead,
No, but even if
do
you
the fuck
have the
want.
means, it's almost like people do it to say like, oh, look at me, what a great parent I am. I'm bringing my kid to all these cool places. Like, cool. They're not going to remember it, and you're paying extra to have a headache.
Yeah. I don't care if you are a billionaire. Before you go and take your kids to the whitest sand beach with the clearest of water on some private jet, staying at something, they don't give a shit.
No.
Take them to Pigeon Forge.
My best memories.
Dollywood.
My best memories, really, and again, this is also why my wife says I'm trashy. Like, some of my best memories growing up are going down the Jersey Shore with my family.
Yeah. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
And same thing, like going to, what's the place in Maryland? Ocean City.
Yes.
Everybody who goes down to Ocean City with their kids, if you have young kids, stay on the bayside. You don't need to be on an ocean with a kid who can be swept out. They don't give a shit.
Right.
They're lazy river and kiddie pool stuff.
Yep.
You know, they don't need to be fucking catching a 6-foot wave somewhere.
No, exactly.
So I think we did it the right way. Luckily, my wife was on board with me. And we didn't give our kids much until they were at an age where they can appreciate it. And I don't know what that age is because it's different.
It's different for every kid.
Your daughter will be ready before your son because she's going to be smarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's going to have more class than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's it. All right, so Cons, it's a pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much. This was just an unbelievable day, and I am grateful that you thought of me when you thought of who at the company could I bring to a day like today.
Well, we're going to have a cigar guy come in a couple of weeks, and automatically I'm like, oh, I got to have Cons in or I got to have Willie in. Like, there's only a couple of people that I smoke with.
Right.
Honestly, Ed Roan's one of them.
Yeah.
Like, Roan and I were in
we brought Roan to that night out at
Club Macanudo.
Club Macanudo.
Yeah, so if you guys are into cigars and you go up to Club Macanudo, just be prepared. When you leave Club Macanudo, by the time you get to the curb, you'll have a sinus infection. It is wall-to-wall cigar smoke. It's not for the faint of heart.
No, but it's an old school. There's very few of them left, like Cigar Lounge. It's a great spot.
Al Sharpton is always there.
He's always there. Every time we're there, he's there. He's sitting in the front. Good Reverend.
But we had...
Whatever you think about him.
Justin.
Yes,
Yeah,
our
so
guy.
Justin was from Macanudo. Diesel.
Yeah,
one of those things. And then we had the wine guy the last time. So we've done that a couple of times.
Yeah, from Flint Knoll.
Yeah, Flint Knoll with Francis and with...
We're giving a lot of plugs for
Jesus Christ.
some really nice things here.
Yeah, no one's advertising yet.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was going to have you on for this or for the cigar thing because it's always a pleasure kind of hanging out with you. But I do want to say before we go, I'm going to answer one more question from people who send in the 5-star reviews. I just want to make sure everybody knows again about the podcast. When does it drop? How often?
Oh, it's on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday. Everywhere.
American.
Bold American. Everywhere you can get podcasts.
Tuesday. And you watch on YouTube or
watch on
whatever.
YouTube, please. Rate 5 stars. Like I said, it's brand new, and that's the crazy part about doing another show for 8.5 years. I forgot what it felt like to start from nothing.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't start from nothing in the sense that I had no experience at this point, but I mean, we're starting over. So it's
a
challenge.
It's the same thing with this. Like, I don't even know what we want this thing to be yet.
Right.
But I didn't even answer a comment. But when we had Lisa on, she was talking about removing her breast implants or doing like AI porn or something. And someone had commented, what does this have to do with...
with food.
And I think Ian had answered back. Large clearly said he's going to talk about anything you can put in your mouth. What a great fucking answer that is. So that's why the cigars, the wine, the fake tits, like everything it's a huge thing that, a huge umbrella that we now fall under.
Yeah.
So again, Bold American, you can catch it every Tuesday, wherever you catch your podcast. And then like and subscribe, 5-star rating, and then you can drop another question. I'll do one more. This is from Bucky Patrick. Hey there, Large. My wife and I have loved Twisted History since the beginning, and I was so stoked about this new podcast. I told my oldest son he could choose anywhere in the country to go for his 18th birthday / graduation. He originally chose Seattle. I swerved him to New York City by agreeing to take him to some rap concert that will find me well out of my comfort zone. That being said, can you recommend places to eat and things we can't miss? Looking at coming into Manhattan by train and then Brooklyn for the last few days of our trip. Would like to take him to his first proper steakhouse dinner. Okay, so that's a big question.
Sure.
So that's a big question. So if you're going to go to Brooklyn, I'll start with the Brooklyn side of it. I would go to the non-sexy side of Brooklyn, over by where I grew up, with Sheepshead Bay, Coney Island Avenue. Go look at, you got to try this, when we did a couple of ones in a row, which was Joseph Avenue U, Brennan and Carr, Randazzo's, and
You can do L&B, right?
L&B Spumoni Gardens. Yeah, so you can do all of those in Brooklyn, within the stone's throw of each other, kind of. Like there's a little bit, but when you see them on a map, they're very, very close together. So you can touch a bunch of different places. And then if you're going to come into Manhattan and have a special like steakhouse dinner and it's just you and your boy, because we just spoke about this last week. I told my buddy for his son's birthdays, since his son is a real steak eater, rare. Go to a different steakhouse with him every year.
Sure.
You'll never run out of places.
Yeah.
And no matter how old you get, you guys will make it a point in and around his birthday just to do it. No girls.
And that dinner will morph over time.
Always, yeah. And, mom can't come. Your sister can't come. Your wife can't come.
I might steal that idea.
I think it's one, I'm jealous I didn't take it.
Yeah,
because
that's a
some
great
years
idea.
you're going to be like, Dad, I don't have any time. We're going to have to meet at a Sizzler near the airport. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you keep it going. So I understand the weight that this guy's putting on coming in with his kid. And there's too many steakhouses in here. I sometimes tell people the Strip House, just because it used to be a bordel, like it had that burlesque show type thing. Strip House does the goose fat potatoes. But I have to be honest, I've only been to the Rocco's on 27th and Mad, and I've had wonderful meals there. This one up here on 57th Street has impressed the shit out of me. Yeah. So it's a coincidence that you send it in while we're doing this, but I have to say
I would recommend this place for sure.
I would definitely recommend it. The service is impeccable and the food is top notch. And you kind of have a great little, nook like this. I mean, obviously we're being taken care of because I'm a huge celebrity, but other than that, I think this is one of those places.
Yeah. I would say, in addition to Rocco's, I wrote a blog a few years ago and I actually updated it this year where I ranked the Christmas trees all over
I remember that.
New York City.
Yeah.
And I said, where should you go for a drink or a bite to eat after? I'm really proud of that because I put a lot of work and through my own research. I think there's only one place on that I got a recommendation from a buddy because I have never spent too much time in that one neighborhood. But other than that, if you read that blog, it's like rating the New York City's best Christmas trees and where to eat after. I think you'll get a good flavor of a lot of different places in New York City.
And did you have Raoul's on that?
Raoul's or Rayo's?
Raoul's.
No.
All right, steak au poivre at Raoul's is something too, but I don't know what your kids' taste buds are. So I'm probably going to go right down I'm thinking too much about this goddamn question. People think you send in questions. I don't put any thought into it. I try to. So, yeah.
It's almost overwhelming when you think about Manhattan. Because, you don't even need to go to Brooklyn.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
If you just stay in one of the boroughs.
I know. Yeah. Like I'd said this once before on the show, Andrew Zimmern said that top 5 food cities in the world, you have to include Queens. Not even New York, not even just the borough of Queens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's kind of overwhelming. But yeah, Strip House can't go wrong. Obviously, I would recommend Rocco's with a bullet. And yeah, check out that blog because he has a lot of good shit in that. And I think there are tables that you can probably get too.
Yes, there's some that are a little harder on the harder side, but there's mostly places you can walk in off the street.
Right.
And be fine.
Yeah. You're not telling them just go to Rayo's in Fort Charles.
Well, no, of course not. Of course not.
Because you kind of like that.
Yeah.
But that's it. So this is Captain Cons. He's the host of Bold American, which you can catch every Tuesday when it drops. This is, you got to try this on behalf of Ian. And by the way, Manoli is back. Manoli comes in and does for some reason, he sat in when we had Lisa Ann in. I can't figure it out, but that was just a huge coincidence as well. But we thank everybody for watching every week. You'll see us on social. We have, what coming up? We just dropped Gene and Jude's. Next week, we're either doing Au Cheval. Yeah, Au Cheval. Then I had a really good Cuban sandwich.
Tough life you lead.
It's not too bad, right? A really good Cuban down in Miami. We'll do that in a couple weeks. That's it for You Got to Try This. We'll see you guys next week.